What did you? Sorry, Mark.
I went last Sunday. I go to Margaret Island.
Oh, right, yeah.
Margaret Island. I with my son, with my friend, and I see the cabas in the Margaret. Is very, very nice. It's like I look the history, and
yeah, the history.
Yes, and I look the mountain.
Lovely.
Is no more.
Nothing more.
No more. In the other days, I went with Marisol. I look different place, and for this organization, for organization. I don't know.
Yeah,
no more. And then I work and I clean my house and nothing much.
Excellent, thank you, Maya. That's great. So you went to Iceland. You went to lots of different events of the organisations that Marisol's a part of, and you also stayed at home. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a point on the grammar there. That was lovely. Just one thing. Instead of, you said I go, but remember, of course, our past tense is I went. I went. But otherwise, really well done. Thank you, Miley. That sounds very fun. Sounds great. Good. I've also got Piedad. What did you do during the summer? What did you do?
Oh, I went to Sintra, Portugal.
Lovely.
Yes, it's very interesting, and the place is many history and many colority. It's fantastic, and it's wonderful food. It's very nice food in Sintra. I like it. It's very nice.
Excellent. So you enjoyed the food in Portugal as well? That sounds absolutely lovely. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Wonderful. We're all going on holiday so far, which is very exciting. Got Portugal, all good places to go. Thank you. Mirta, what about you? What did you do during the summer?
Yes. Hello. Sorry, but you don't speak Spanish very well, and me don't speak English very well.
That's okay. We can practice. That's okay.
Yeah. This year, we didn't travel abroad. I read some books and discussed with the people in the group some philosophy books. I found interesting. And then I visit my children and spend time with them and walk around, and nothing interesting.
I think that's important, to relax. Sounds good. That's good. Spend time with your family to relax. Fantastic. That's brilliant. And philosophy books sound really interesting as well. Thank you for that, Mirta. That sounds well done. Perla, what did you do in summer in Barcelona, if you were there?
Okay. I have spent time. You listen me?
Listening to.
Okay. I have spent time with my family and friends, and together I visit different restaurants in different places or areas in Barcelona, and also outside Barcelona. At that time, in the last two months, there are no a lot of people in different places. There are very good time. I sorry, I lost and my English I decreased in 1 year and a half, approximately.
Okay. No,
Sorry.
No, not at all. That's really good. In fact, honestly, all of you who have spoken so far, your responses have been really good. Like they're better than my I don't have any excuse for Spanish because I have Spanish. I have lots of friends who speak Spanish. But so yeah, you guys are doing really well. It's kind of it's practice, isn't it? It's when it's like a muscle when you move it well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Brilliant. And then I think there's finally Sandra as well. Sandra, what did you do during the summer?
Yeah, well, in summer there are a lot of things that we can do. In for example, we go to the beach. Yeah, but I really enjoyed last week until today because in Valencia we celebrate a folk festival. I don't know if you heard about the fallas in Valencia. Usually they are celebrated in March, every March. But today, for the COVID, changed to September, this September. And they are these festivities. They are by the patrimonio cultural, o sea, cultural patrimonio.
Yeah, cultural heritage.
Because they are unique in the world. Yeah, exactly. Because they are unique in the world. They usually construct a big monuments of good, like people that represents usually day by day, for example, problems in the country or people didn't do, for example, famous artists or famous people, no?
Yeah.
Represents. But today, the last date, they burn the monuments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I don't know if you heard about this festivity.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool.
The fallas is the name. Fallas. Yeah. For example, it sound a lot because they throw I don't know how to say petardos or with the TNT. A pólvora, I don't know how to say.
The sort of explosives, is that?
Explosives, exactly, explosives all day. Sometimes they say, oh, we can do it because a lot of, but well, it's good, beautiful, and today is the last day. That's why I am excited.
Yeah, very exciting. Fantastic. Oh, thank you for that. That's really interesting. I'll have to look that up actually. I like folk festivals quite a lot. They're very interesting things, aren't they? Lots of fun.
Someday you look for in the internet the fallas and you find these
absolutely.
activities.
I'll do that. That's
in Valencia. It's only in Valencia. Nothing in Spain.
Nowhere else. I know that part
Valencia,
of Spain
in Cante, I think.
Oh, you're frozen, I think. Sandra, hello? Okay, I think maybe her internet's frozen. That's good. But yeah, thank you everyone for your responses. Oh, there we are. Yeah, you're back, Sandra. Okay. Sorry, you froze a bit.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's pyrotechnic games. Pyrotechnic games.
Oh, pyrotechnics.
Pyrotechnic game. No, there's the say.
Pyrotechnics, exactly.
Thank you for that, Marley. Yeah, pyrotechnics is the bangs and the fireworks.
Sí, pirotecnia. Y son muy famosas.
Of course, as you all know, one of the
mira, ahora mismo, mira, no sé si escuchan los ruidos y van a echar ahora en unos minutos o tal vez más todo no sé si es que lográis ver ahí abajo.
Oh, wow.
No sé si lográis ver. es todo lo que va a, es un ruido pero que retumba y como un temblor.
That's all right.
Bueno, eso, pero por lo demás es hermoso, hermosas las fallas.
I do love that. Of course, everyone knows as well, obviously here on the 5th of November, we have bonfire night as well. So there's lots of explosions. It's not as exciting as this festival. That festival sounds very exciting, but they of course have bonfire night, and we had the fireworks all the time here, and the big bonfires as well. Which is very fun. Looking forward to that in a month, actually, today. Good. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. Those really good responses. Well done. I know it can be hard sometimes when you haven't practiced speaking English a while, but I think everyone did really well. Okay, you did really well. You have the confidence. It's in the back of your memory. It's just practicing speaking it, and that's good. So let's try and go to the reading for today. Let's hope this works. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, the reading today is about the feminist and writer and activist and all sorts of things, Audre Lorde, who you may have heard of before, you may not. She's very famous, but you may not have come across her. Some people have, some people haven't. And I was recently reading a book of her essays and writings, which in English is called Sister Outsider. I'm not sure what they would have given the Spanish version as, but if you haven't read it, I would very much recommend it. And what I'll try and do is send a link to it in the WhatsApp chat for everyone. So if there's a version that you can read it, because it's very, very, very good. So what we can do as usual is I will read through the passage out loud. Okay, make notes of any vocabulary or anything that you want to talk about. It's quite long today, that's okay. I'll read through it at a certain pace. It's just because I wanted you guys to have quite a bit of practice with the words. So yeah, put any vocab in the chat. And also, yeah, just feel free to ask any questions afterwards, okay? And I will zoom in a bit so we can all see it better. Okay, here we go. Audre Lorde, feminist, poet, woman. And there she is, that's her famous photograph. There she's looking into the camera. Early life. Audre Geraldine Lorde was born on February 18th, 1934 in New York City, and went on to become a leading African-American poet and essayist who gave voice to issues of race, gender, and sexuality. Lorde's love of poetry started at a young age, and she began writing as a teenager. She attended Hunter College, working to support herself through school. After graduating in 1959, she went on to get a master's degree in library science from Columbia University in 1961. For most of the 1960s, Lorde worked as a librarian in New York City. She married the lawyer Edwin Rollins in 1962, and the couple had 2 children, Elizabeth and Jonathan. But Lorde was unhappy with their marriage for a long time. Okay. We can see here she's standing behind a phrase that definitely summarizes her work and the way that she thought about feminism. Okay, women are powerful and dangerous, there with those words. First work published. Lorde's life changed dramatically in 1968. Her first volume of poetry, First Cities, was published, and that same year she left her job as a head librarian at Town School Library in New York City. Also in 1968, Lorde taught a poetry workshop at Tougaloo College in Mississippi, witnessing firsthand the deep racial tensions in the South. There, she would publish her second volume of poetry entitled Cables to Rage in 1970, which took on the themes of love, deceit, and family, and which also addressed her own sexuality in the poem Martyr. During her time at Tougaloo, Lord met and fell in love with Frances Clayton, a professor of psychology and lesbian who would remain Lord's romantic partner for the rest of her life. The two lived together and raised Lord's 2 children once she had divorced her husband, with whom she had had a very unhappy marriage. With the publication of her book Coal by a major book company in 1976, Lord began to reach a larger audience. The Black Unicorn, 1978, soon followed. In this volume, Lord explored her African heritage. It is considered one of her greatest works by many critics. Throughout her poetry and other writings, she tackled topics that were important to her as a woman of color, lesbian, mother, and feminist. In her essay collection, Sister Outsider, which I would recommend to everyone, she fought for an understanding of feminism which pays attention to the different ways in which women of color, lesbians, and poor women are oppressed by society, and called for a feminism which was intersectional and celebrated difference and solidarity. And there she is there, which I believe that is with Frances Clayton, her partner, but I may be mistaken. But she's wearing a wonderful jacket there as well, very characteristic of Audre Lorde. Cancer, Battle and Death. In addition to poetry, Lorde was a powerful essayist and writer. In terms of her non-fiction work, she is best remembered for the Cancer Journals in 1980, in which she documents her own struggle with breast cancer. Having undergone a mastectomy, Lorde refused to be victimized by the disease. Instead, she considered herself, and other women like her, to be warriors. The cancer later spread to her liver, and this latest battle with the disease informs the essay collection A Burst of Light in 1989. This time, she chose to pursue alternative treatments rather than to opt for more surgery. Audre Lorde battled cancer for more than a decade and spent her last few years living in the US Virgin Islands. Around this time, she took an African name, Gamba Adisa, meaning she who makes her meaning clear. Lorde died on November the 17th, 1992, on the island of St. Croix, the largest of the US Virgin Islands. Over her long career, Lorde received numerous accolades, though she is primarily remembered today for being an unparalleled warrior poet who valiantly fought many personal and political battles with her words. Okay, and there she is there, again, very characteristic of Audre Lorde, in the middle of, I think, speaking, or maybe open night or spoken word poetry, as they say, so speaking her poetry in front of a crowd, which she used to do. She's a very, very impressive speaker if you ever have the chance to listen to her. I think there are some YouTube videos of her speaking. And to finish off, I thought we could have an extract from one of her essays, which is, the English I think is pretty straightforward, and it's a nice example of the sort of way that she wrote. Okay, here we go. So, I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, must be made verbal, or even shared, even at the risk of having it bruised or misunderstood. And where the words of women are crying to be heard, we must, each of us, recognize our responsibility to seek those words out, to read them and share them and examine them in their pertinence to our lives. That we not hide behind the mockeries of separations that have been imposed upon us, and which so often we accept as our own. We can learn to work and speak when we are afraid, in the same way we have learned to work and speak when we are tired. for we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own needs for language and definition. And while we wait in silence for that final luxury of fearlessness, the weight of that silence will choke us. The fact that we are here and I speak these words is an attempt to break that silence and bridge some of the differences between us. For it is not difference which immobilizes us, but silence. And there are so many silences to be broken. There we are. That was something that she wrote from Sister Outsider. That was one of her famous essays as well. There we go. So I think she's an incredibly impressive figure and an incredibly important thinker and a wonderful writer as well. So I don't know, now that we've read through that fully, does anyone have any questions at all about vocabulary, about the grammar? Does anyone want to say anything if they're happy with the grammar? Because I see no one's put anything in the chat, I don't think. So any questions about words? How well did we understand it as well? Does anyone want to say? Who understood this okay? Did you understand it, or was it a bit difficult? What do we think? Difficult? Was that, Sandra, was it difficult or?
Yeah, for example, I understand maybe 50 or 60%.
Okay, so not all of it. Okay.
Maybe 70, but 30 I don't understand.
That's okay, that's all right. It is quite a hard passage. So I didn't write this one this week. I got this from a website, but I think it is quite a hard passage. That's okay. Does everyone else the same sort of thing? Difficult to understand? Yeah.
Me, I understand about 50%.
50%. Okay, that's all right. Oh, good. Okay, so that's good. So it's something that we can kind of look through. There's a lot of words here that are place names which we don't really need to understand. So like, you know, like all the different details about Columbia University and stuff, that's just, you know, place names is fine, and the names of people, that's okay. The most important thing, of course, is that we understand her kind of experience. So does anyone have any words at all that they weren't sure about, that they wanted to know what they mean in Spanish, or any vocabulary you thought that's, I've got a few words maybe that we can think about, but does anyone else have any at all? Maybe you can have a look through while we're doing it. So a couple of words that I thought were interesting that we might be able to figure out together. Essayist. Does anyone know what this might be in Spanish at all? Does anyone want to have a guess? An essayist. It's relatively similar.
Ensayista.
Excellent, thank you. Precisely, well done. So an essayist is just ensayista, okay? So that's, I'll put that in the chat for everyone, okay? And just as essayist is ensayista, and essay is just ensayo, okay? So that's, those two are pretty similar. Good, so someone who writes ensayos, okay? Let's have a look somewhere else. She supported herself graduating master's degree, library science. Okay, I think that's all pretty straightforward, isn't it? A lawyer, when we say a lawyer, so notice this word.
Lawyers.
Abogado.
Excellent, well done. We all know that one. Perfect, well done. Abogado, okay, excellent. English speakers, whenever English speakers are learning Spanish, they always confuse abogado with avocado, which is you know, people always get really confused with that.
I don't remember teenager, and writing as a teenager.
Say that again, Molly, sorry.
Teenager.
Teenager.
Young age and very.
That word there, teenager. Does anyone know? Can anyone tell us?
Teenager, I don't know.
Not sure. Does anyone else know at all? Does anyone know teenager that can tell us? Okay, so teenager is just adolescente, okay? That's all it is. Yeah. So the way it works is, if you think about it, when we have you know, the numbers 13, 14, 15, 16, So it's sort of thing, teenager, so they're in their teens. Adolescente, yeah, that's all. I misspelled that actually. I should rewrite that. There we go. Yeah, and that's all that is. Okay, well done. Well done. Let's have a look. So I think that's okay. So she had a marriage. Women are powerful and dangerous. We know that one. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. That's great. Let's have a look here. Okay. Let's have a look. So over here, she taught a poetry workshop. We've definitely had a lot of workshops over the summer because I've seen on the WhatsApp group. Does anyone know what a workshop is? What do we mean by that? Do you know?
Taller.
Well done. Excellent. Thank you. Taller. Okay, that is a workshop. Okay, we just call it a workshop, taller, same sort of thing. So whenever we've got one of those on the WhatsApp group, it's the same thing as a taller. It's a workshop. Well done. So we've got here, she taught a poetry workshop. So taller de poesía, which she taught. And then this is here. She in Tougaloo in Mississippi, she was witnessing firsthand these tensions in the south of America, okay, the racism that was there. Does anyone know what witness is in English at all?
Testigo.
Excellent. Well done, good. So there are two things in English, both of them. There is a witness, which is the noun, which is testigo, okay, and then we have to witness something. Sorry, there's a bit of an advert appearing on the side of my screen. There we go. To witness something, okay, as you said, ser testigo. So in Spanish, it's even easier, right? Okay, or you can have maybe something like presenciar as well, okay, that may be, which I've also misspelled. There we are. Okay, so yeah, to be a witness, to witness something, ser testigo, okay. Good. Or I know you can say atestiguar as well, right? That's a verb, atestiguar. So that could be it as well. Good. Let's have a look. Any words on this page anyone is not sure about at all, having a look back through here? Any phrases people aren't sure about at all? Have a look. Tougaloo. So be that Tougaloo is just a place. It's a town. Okay, it's a town in Mississippi. In America, it's just a place. Yeah, so it's like a pueblo. I see all that. That's all it is. Okay. So it's somewhere that she stayed. Let's see. We're unhappy marriage, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. So here's one other thing. Throughout her poetry and other writings, she tackled topics which were important to her. So when we say to tackle something, does anyone know what it means here? Does anyone know tackle?
Es abordar o abordar temas.
Exactly.
Abordar tópicos.
Fantastic. Thank you, Betty. So that is. So we've got two meanings of to tackle in English. Okay, there are two meanings. One of them, okay, is in
understanding.
Which understanding as well. Understanding. Great. Thank you. We'll get onto that in a sec. Thank you for raising that. That's great. Just to go on to tackle. So there are two things that tackle do. Okay, so in sport, so you're playing rugby. Okay, you can. I think it's like you can say derribar, aplacar, taclear. I think is also a verb. Okay, so to tackle is when you jump into someone and like push them onto the ground. That's to tackle. Okay, but we can also have, as was just said now, to tackle something metaphorically is abordar something, okay, un tema or afrontar or anything like that, enfrentar as well, okay, so that's to tackle. That's what she's doing here, so thank you for that. Understanding, here we go. So in her essay collection, okay, so we said the essay is ensayo, okay, so in her collection of essays, Sister Outsider, she fought for an understanding of feminism which pays attention to the different ways in which women can be oppressed, okay? So in this context, an understanding would be un conocimiento, okay? Conocimiento, that's what she's asking for here, an understanding, okay? And as we know, in English, conocimiento...
¿Podría ser comprensión también o no?
Say that again for me, Bella. Sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Comprehension.
Comprensión.
Exactly. Well done. So what's going on here, excuse me, is that in English, there are lots of ways that understand can be translated. And so we can have conocer, can be to understand sometimes. And as you said as well, it can also be something like comprender. So we have comprensión as well, is a translation of understanding. Absolutely. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Knowledge is the same conocimiento.
Good. Okay, it is. It's very similar to conocimiento as well. So it can also be translated that way. Absolutely. Knowledge can also be translated as comprensión as well. The difference, I guess, the difference is in what you feel the nuances in the Spanish and the English. Okay, so in this particular case, understanding here is probably a little bit closer to something like conocimiento, okay? We could say recognition in English as well, okay? Whereas in other contexts, understanding maybe means more close to comprensión as well, but knowledge can mean both of those too, okay? And we could just put knowledge in there and it would mean the same thing, really, okay? So yeah, well spotted, Pedro, well done. Good, so you can see, yeah, for the word for knowledge, lots of different ones. I know in Spanish, you have to use different words in different contexts, okay? So you know a person, you know, conocer a alguien, but then you can know something is, as we know, saber, right? So it's different in Spanish. In English, you can use know in both cases. Good. Excellent. When we say, here we go. So she celebrated difference and solidarity. What's she saying there? Solidarity, I think, is pretty similar. Okay.
Solidaridad.
Perfect. Well done. Solidaridad. And difference, when we say difference, what do we mean here? Does anyone know?
Diferencias.
Diferente. O diferencia.
Absolutely. Well done, guys. Brilliant. Yeah, diferencias. Okay, so she's celebrating those differences. And what Audre Lorde thought was very important was that we both recognize differences in the way that we experience the world, but also we don't let those experiences cause fights and anger, but we build on those differences. We celebrate those differences to then create a solidarity. And that's I think that's a really nice way to see it personally. Good. And then let's have a look here, see some other words that we can understand. So cancer battle and her death. Let's have a look. Non-fiction. This is a nice one. So in terms of her non-fiction work, does anyone know what non-fiction is? How would we say that?
Real.
Exactly, yeah, real. Excellent. What's another way we could say it as well in Spanish? Another way? Non-fiction literature. How would we say that? I guess, you know, no ficción, factual, real. Yeah, absolutely. Literatura de no ficción. Yeah, so that sort of thing. Absolutely. Well done. Good. And of course, in this case, her work, as we see here. So we know that there are several words for work in English. When we're doing work as in I'm going to work, we know that's trabajo, or if you have a job, empleo as well, okay? In this case, the work, when we say work in this case, we mean obras, okay? So her works, obras in this example, that's what we mean when we say work here, so her non-fiction work. Good, well done. So she's remembered for the cancer journals in which she documents, okay, same as documentar, her own struggle with breast cancer. Struggle, what's that in Spanish? Do we know?
Es difícil.
Say that again, sorry?
Difícil.
Difícil.
Difícil. Dificultoso, difícil.
Oh, sorry, difícil. Sorry. I didn't. My computer's audio is very bad. Thank you. Difícil, absolutely. So a struggle is difícil. A struggle is something slightly different word. So it is something that is difícil, but it is like una lucha, okay, or una prueba as well, okay, it's a struggle. It's something you really like fighting for, okay? So to struggle for something is luchar, is to struggle as well. But as you said, yeah, it's difícil, well done. Lucha, prueba, okay? And it's often something that you don't always win as well. You don't always succeed with the struggle. Good. Any other words here at all, guys, that we're not sure about? Anyone got any other words? we have the word warrior. So she thought that women who had cancer, they weren't victims, but they were warriors. What's a warrior? Do we know?
Ocupaciones, I don't recuerdo.
Good, it's something well done because it's got the or at the end. Yeah, it's a, so in this case, guerrera, okay, or guerrero. Okay. That's a warrior. So that's a nice way that she talked about it. She said that women with cancer, with breast cancer, were warriors. Okay, guerreras, not victims. Good. Let's see. So yeah, here we've got at the end of her life, she took an African name. Okay, so throughout her life, she had lots of different names. Okay, she wrote a book called Zami. So at one time she took the name Zami, but here she took the African name Gamba Adisa, meaning she, who makes her meaning clear. And clear in that sense, of course, we mean, for example, like claro, okay, evidente as well, okay, or maybe we can say like completa as well, okay. Good. And she died in 1992. She had numerous accolades. Has anyone come across this before? She got numerous accolades. This is an interesting one.
Elogio.
Excellent, well done, very good. Elogios, okay. So an accolade is an elogio. Lots and lots and lots of praise that she got because she was an unparalleled warrior poet. Okay, so I like this word, unparalleled. Okay, incomparable. Okay, sin igual, sin par. Okay, so unparalleled. Let me tell that. So that's what she is. Good. So I know that this is. It's quite a hard reading. What I want to focus on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to we can look at this again and then maybe have a discussion about this, because this is, for me, this is the bit I want you guys to kind of enjoy the most, is this extract from her writing, okay? How much of this did we understand, this part? 50%, 60%, more? What do we think?
60.
60, okay, this sort of thing. So what we can do is we can go through the vocabulary for this part, and then I'll read it out loud again and see if we understand it a bit better. So everyone have a look at the screen there. Any words there that you aren't sure about that you want to know before we read this part again? Any phrases, anything we're not quite sure about? Or anything at all? So maybe I can help you with a couple of words here. So we have the word fearlessness, okay? So notice, as you know, with English, what we tend to do is when we have our words, we can have lots of different words in different forms. So we have the word fear, for example, which is, what's that? Does anyone know in English? Fear is?
Miedo.
Miedo, well done, okay, good. Miedo, terror, okay, good. And we have the word fearless. So then we add our sufijo to the end, fearless. Okay, good. So,
Sin miedo.
oh, exactly,
Sería,
well done. Sin miedo, okay, excellent. So we know that less means kind of sin or blah, blah, blah. We could also have, like, you know, anything else we wanted, valiente, intrépido as well, okay. And then we've got fearlessness. Okay,
intrépido.
so, exactly, well done. So it's being fearless, or the state of being fearless, okay? So valentía, audacia, intrepidez, okay? Any of those, yeah, absolutely, okay? So that's what we've got here, okay? Yeah, you see? So that's how that kind of works, okay? So fear, miedo, terror, fearless, adjetivo, okay? Sin miedo, valiente. Fearlessness is a noun, okay? Sustantivo, intrepidez, valentía, that sort of thing, okay? So that's what we've got there. So it's good to know. Less always makes an adjective. Ness always makes a noun, okay? Good, so fearlessness is intrepidez. So that's what we've got here. Let's see, any other words here which we don't know, or any grammar?
Shock.
Shock.
Shock us.
Choke. Okay. Choke. Good. So this is a quite a what's the word I'm looking for? Quite a macabre word. Okay. So to choke somebody, okay, is sofocar. asfixiar, estrangular, okay? That's to choke. So the silence will choke us. Okay, she's saying that not speaking, the weight of that silence will choke us. It will stop us from living politically. Okay, so to choke is that, okay?
This is phrasal verb, shock us or not?
Okay, so no, that's a good, well spotted. Okay, so all she's saying is us is just nos. Okay, so nos estrangula, nos asfixia. Okay, that's what she's saying. Okay, that sort of thing. Nos sofoca. Yeah? So that's what's going on there. Okay, and ahogar as well. You can say. Okay, that's what to choke. And then of course, if you're choking yourself, okay, so I misspelled that. Sorry. You would say something like ahogarse. Okay, that's of course the usual one. But this one is when you're choking something. Good. Let's see. Pertinence, I think we know that one. That's pretty similar to the Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Well done. So that's very similar to Spanish. Importancia, relevancia, pertinencia. Mockeries. Here we go. We will not hide behind the mockeries of separation that have been imposed on us. So mockeries, okay? Burlas, mofas, okay? Farsas. Things that are ridiculous, okay? She thinks it's ridiculous, that sort of thing. That's what a mockery is, okay? Let me put that there, okay? Anything else before we have a read over it one more time? Any other word we've seen? Again, we can put it in the chat. Maybe the final one, I'll do it, is bruised, okay? To bruise something, do we know what a bruise is at all?
¿Cuál? Lastimar, no. Quemar, lastimar.
Very, very good. So yeah, that very, very close. Good. So a bruise, okay, a bruise is un moretón, okay, cardenal on the body, okay. So to bruise something is, I think you can say magullar, no? So magullado is, I think.
Golpeado.
Yeah, exactly as well. Yeah, I say una magulladura. I think I'm trying to remember the phrase, and my friend taught it to me as well, and all the other ones as well. Okay, amoratarse is those sorts of things, to bruise or to hurt. Okay, good. Right. So what we'll do? Okay, I'll just give it a go. Okay, it'll be the final thing. I'll read through this again. Try and understand as much as you can. And what I want you to think about, because we can have a little conversation about it afterwards, is think about what she's saying in this, okay? So her argument is that this was written in the 1970s, and I think maybe 1960s as well. Her argument is that by being silent about the things that matter to us, by being silent, by not talking about the things which are important in the world, we're actually doing ourselves harm. And actually what we should do is speak out about those things and share them and be proud about them or fight against them. Okay, which is definitely the sort of stuff which we've done in this group, in which Marisol and all of you have been supporting on the book group as well. So let's have a look. As I said, extract from the essay, The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action. I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal, or even shared, even at the risk of having it bruised, magullado, or misunderstood. And where the words of women are crying to be heard, we must, each of us, recognize our responsibility to seek those words out. Okay, to seek something out is to find, buscar, okay? To read them and share them and examine them in their pertinence to our lives. That we not hide behind the mockeries, okay, burlas, of separation that have been imposed on us and which so often we accept as our own. We can learn to work and speak when we are afraid, in the same way that we have learned to work and speak when we are tired. For we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own needs for language and for definition. And while we wait in silence for that final luxury of fearlessness, okay, valentía, intrepidez, the weight of that silence will choke us. The fact that we are here and that I speak these words is an attempt to break that silence and bridge some of the differences between us. For it is not difference which immobilizes us, but silence. And there are so many silences to be broken. Okay. How was that? Did everyone understand that a bit more? Are there still parts we're not sure about? What do people think? Do we know? How much percent of that do we understand there? Is it still only 70, 80?
Yeah. 70.
Okay, that's good. Does anyone want to point out a part of it they're not sure about? Is there a particular sentence that's really confusing, you're not sure about, or anything at all? No. I think it's quite difficult English, and you guys are doing really well with understanding it, right? So what I think we can do now, because we've read quite a lot, let's maybe have a discussion about what we think about this. Okay, so as we've seen, I'll give you a bit of an idea. It would be interesting to hear from all of you. Number one, has anyone read any Audre Lorde before? Have you encountered her before? Okay. And number two, what you think about what she says here about silence? Okay, because having read her book, I found that I was really quite taken aback, so surprised in a really good way at how well she describes this and how well she advocates for this political way of existing, because she says that she's writing in the 1970s, and I think a lot of what she's writing is very relevant today as well. But she says this as a Black woman, as a woman of color, as a woman who is queer, as a woman who is working class as well at some points. She says all around, all these different people who are struggling in the world, they are basically fighting with each other. They're calling each other names, they're being cruel to each other, they're shouting. Whereas what they should be doing is recognizing how each of their experiences is different, but not allowing that to make them angry, but the opposite. It should allow them to speak up, to be honest about the things that they're experiencing, and to join together in solidarity so that they can change things, so that they can fight against the systems which are causing them so much pain and so many problems. And I think that's really interesting. So what does everyone else think? Does anyone want to give their idea? Have you come across her before? What do you think about what she's saying? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who would like to have a go? Who'd like to go first? I know we're shy, but go on, everyone. We've got such good ideas in this group. We've got such good ideas.
I think she was brave because to express her opinion in that time was a difficult time,
Yeah.
Several years ago, and society was very, very closed. No, I don't know, cerrada.
Close, yeah.
Close, yeah. And she divorced and fell in love with other lesbian professor, and she, in her books or essay, she showed the difficulties face for other women, because she's women of color, lesbian, and poor. They were oppressed by the society, at that time. And also the other thing I very impact, because she fought many years with this cancer. and without victimizing, no?
Yeah.
Very,
yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
valiant, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Miss. That was fantastic. That was really nice. Completely agree. She's an incredibly inspirational woman, isn't she, for getting through all the stuff that she got through. She, as you say, she went through cancer. She didn't allow it to victimize her. She was valiant. She was brave, as you said as well. And she was dealing with so much. But her response to that, which was, I think, one of the most inspiring things, is that even though she was struggling a lot, and she writes this in Sister Outsider, because as we said, the title Sister Outsider, you know, in Spanish, Hermana Forastera, okay, that's the idea, is because she felt outside of society, but she wanted to be in, she wanted to bring everyone in. And yeah, she writes a lot about those struggles. So I completely agree with you. Absolutely. It's very, very inspiring, and we can learn a lot from her as well. Thank you for that, Mirta. Excellent. Would anyone else like to add their ideas? What does everyone else think about Audre Lorde as a person, or what she says here? Does anyone relate to it? Does anyone agree, disagree? What do we think?
I think this is a very unusual woman, because in that time, in the past, the situation was very difficult for the women. The majority have problem for the women in general. I think this poet, an essayist, and writer, I think is very warrior, and a woman. She doesn't have fear, and it is so fearlessness in her writings in general.
Yeah, fantastic, Fella. Thank you for you using the words we learned today as well. That's perfect. Well done. So she's a warrior woman, excellent, and she's so fearless as well. Excellent, very good. And she's an incredibly inspirational person, and I think that's amazing, really, at what she's managed to do, as you said, because you know it was not an easy time in the 1970s and 80s, but not an easy time for her to be alive in that way. Absolutely. Good. Yeah, anyone else want to say anything as well? We can maybe also, if you didn't know what else to say about Audre Lorde, you could talk about her views on silence. Okay, so do you feel like actually sometimes you have to be silent, you have to be quiet about things that you want to talk about? Do you agree with her here, where she says that we should always speak out about what we think about politics and about feminism and things? Does anyone have a thing?
Well, I think the same, like Piedad and Perla is the same thinking about this, but only I want to take this paragraph that I think I like it. I say, where the words of women are crying to be heard, we must each of recognize our responsibility of these words out, because this is important, no, and examine and influencing our lives. And then change with these models of women. We can take these lives and change our lives too. That is, I say, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah, completely agree, Sanjay. It's incredibly important, isn't it? It's incredibly important, and that's what, of course, we're trying to do in this book group as well, right? Is that share those words and those stories, and to read them and share them, as she says, okay, compartir, and examine them in how they're relevant to our lives and how we can all learn from them as well, and how they might represent certain people's experiences. Absolutely, and completely agree. And I think one of the things which is really inspirational for her is that, as we all know, as you have all experienced, in our very modern world, there is a big advantage to things like social media and WhatsApp. So, you know, WhatsApp allows us to communicate. Think of all the events that are on the FEWP WhatsApp group. Think of all the events that are on the groups you're in, or the ways of communicating and, you know, sharing and banding together. But also, of course, you have the downside of it, which we've discussed before in this group, which is things like Twitter often can be, and Facebook can be a bit, it can make it easy to shout at people and to be angry with people, where actually what you should be doing is trying to understand people, you know, and that thing. And so Sandra said, good, we have a responsibility to seek words out of people that we don't know, to learn from them, and then to try and involve those into our lives as well. Excellent, thank you for that. Sandra, does anyone else, Marley or Piedad, do you want anything?
No, for me, I went, thank you, yeah, for always you saying this, the woman's story is very, very nice, always saying for all people the histories in the woman.
You're welcome, Marley.
Thank you.
I'm very glad you
Yes.
enjoy them. You're very welcome.
It's very, very important. See the woman is the in the society. The last time it's difficult for
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
No, thank you very much, Marley. Honestly, I'm really glad that you find it so important, and that's why we're here, as you say. Absolutely, it's important to share those experiences and those things. It's really, really important, and I'm glad that you all can be here. Thank you for being here to listen to them and share your ideas as well. That's just as important. Thank you for that. What I will do is, I think I will send, because I know this is quite a difficult reading, but you guys have done really well.
No, I understand.
You got it?
About 50% is the history is very, very interesting for me.
Brilliant. That's good. Yeah, fantastic. Well, what I'll do is in the chat, I'll send some of her writing in Spanish, and also a few poems of hers as well, because they're really good. They're really nice poems as well. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Marley. Piedad, did you want to say anything at all? Yeah.
Yes, I thank you. Yes, very nice narration. I am feminist. I am feminist.
Me too. Good.
Yes, I very like the reading is very important, and the interesting narration. I very like it. That's good. Thank you, Jack.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Pierre. Yeah, so good. So yeah, I think we'll kind of leave that there, unless Marisol wants to give her opinion. I don't know if she's been able to listen at all. Maybe she's been working in the background because she's a very busy woman. But I would just say, yeah, if any of you are ever wanting to read anything more about this sort of thing, I would definitely recommend Audre Lorde's poetry and her work, because she's an amazing writer and thinker, and I think there's a lot that we can learn from her. Even in 2021, a lot of her ideas are still very, very relevant, very pertinent, as we would say. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, guys. Does anyone have any questions before we finish up at all? Turn over to Marisol to finish. Does anyone have any questions or want to say anything else at all about it? No? Okay, no worries. Right, excellent. So I think that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate, like, you know, you said that your English was a bit rusty, as we say in English. English was a bit rusty, but I don't. Do you have that phrase in Spanish? Kind of a bit out of. Yeah, I think you said like un poco oxidado, no? Un poco rancio. Is that rancio? Is that what people say? Maybe. No.
Oxidado.
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 Yeah, oxidado. Yeah, so that's my Spanish is a bit oxidado. But I think your English is actually very, very good. It's not.
No, nuestro inglés también está oxidado por tantos meses de vacaciones.
Well, you were speaking better than I was in Spanish, you see. You're speaking much, much better.
Same.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So thank you, everyone.
Nosotras tenemos que leer en español, a ver, este texto en español.
Sí, claro. De hecho, sí, es verdad. I was going to say, is it true or not? It is true. Leí un libro entero en español, muy, muy lentamente.
Felicidades.
¿Cuál libro?
Se llama me cuesta pronunciarlo. Un verdor terrible. Es por Benjamin Labatut.
¿Un perdón terrible?
Las obras científicas de el siglo the 20th century, sobre quantum physics and stuff like that. But it's very good. Sí, muy.
Congratulations.
Con un diccionario muy lentamente.
Está bien.
Escribiendo cada palabra. Sí.
Como nosotros, igual que nosotros, con diccionarios al rato.
Sí.
Sí, hoy inclusive la profesora de Jessica de fonética nos dijo que teníamos que leer lentamente.
Sí,
justo nos dijo hoy lo mismo.
Sí,
justo.
Lentamente, exacto, sí. ¿Conocen a Words Reference, el app, la aplicación? One sec. Word
No.
I don't know if you can see my camera.
¿Pueden mandarnos? ¿Pueden enviar?
En el grupo.
Sí. It's very, very good. Se llama Word Reference. Y es una aplicación por el phone. And it tiene todas los idiomas. And yeah, it's very good. I use it for Spanish. Yeah, it's helped me. Me ayuda mucho. Pues, ok. Maristol, ¿estás allí? ¿No se escucha? Marisol? No? Okay, so I think, guys, maybe we can, I don't know, maybe I can end the chat. I'm not sure if Marisol has to finish. I think we can finish up there, everyone. So, yeah, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you for your contributions. And it was lovely to see you all again. Yeah.
Gracias a ti.
Thank you so much.
Ya, nuestro próximo encuentro sería el 19, ¿no?
Sí, el 19, creo que sí. Sí, claro.
Perdón que les he dejado un poco ahí en el aire, pero estaba ahí coordinando las cosas.
Hola. No te preocupes.